Last August, Nick took on a massive challenge. He pushed himself to his mental and physical limits to draw attention and raise awareness of secondary breast cancer. So, Nick, in a nutshell, can you tell me what happened that day?
So that day was 19 hours of cycling, starting at 1:30 in the morning, finishing at 8:30 at night. 19 hours, right from the top of Wales, through Snowdonia National Park, through the rest of Wales, all the way down to Mumbles Pier in Swansea. It was an unbelievably tiring day, and it was continually hill after hill after hill. Even though I was pleased with the way I paced it the first 14, 15 hours, the last 4 or 5 were the toughest hours I've ever done cycling.
So, did you do it on your own, Nick?
So I did it with a few friends who joined me in different parts of the journey, and I had a car behind me, and that team helped me with directions, food, and towards the end, very importantly, motivation.
So, do you feel like it was important to do it for a charity, or did you just do it for the challenge and your own ego?
Probably a bit of the second one, but also the charity part was important because my wife has secondary breast cancer, and I wanted to do something for the charities that she supports, and I've learned a lot about the last 2 years and feel as though do a lot of excellent work. For example, MetUpUK put excellent pressure on different organisations, right from doctors all the way up to MPs, and I wanted them to have the funds that could help them do more of what they do.
Why do you feel that's important? Why do they need to put pressure on things?
They need to put pressure on things because without pressure, things don't improve. So I think it's important that there's organisations out there that continually do this and continually coming up with new ideas as to how they can be challenged, how they can improve, and how in the future they can be better treatment.
So, what advice would you have for someone that is thinking of doing a big challenge or something, maybe not as big as this, but relative to them? Do you have any advice for someone thinking of taking up something so big?
I'd probably say think of something that motivates you, like the idea of cycling the length of Wales in one day. When someone came up with the idea, I thought, God, that's something I'd love to be able to look back on and say I've done. So that was something. And then as soon as I came up with the person came up with the idea and I liked it, I then thought, wow, I want to have that. And that motivated me to put the 6 weeks of training in.
6 weeks, that's all it took.
Well, I've done a lot of cycling the last 10 years. So I did have experience of cycling, and I used to go out maybe twice a week. But in that 6 weeks building up to it, I did it every day, either out on the bike for an hour or two, or upstairs on my cross trainer, doing about 20 minutes to get a sweat on.
Wow, you must have been incredibly fit. I don't think it would take me 6 weeks. It'd take me 6 years, and even then.
Yeah. I think I've always been blessed with health and fitness like that, and I'm very fortunate. But also, I've done a lot of long distance cycling in the past. I've cycled the length of France and over to Berlin, so I'm well used to pacing myself on long trips. Although I've never done anywhere near as much as 310k in one day.
I've got to ask, why 310?
It's 310 because the first two numbers of that, of course, are 3 and a 1. And 31 people die from breast cancer in the UK every day. So it's to represent that. And we made sure that we hit those 310.
Did your wife do it with you?
She supported me and the team. She was in the car behind, she was driving, she was giving me direction, she was giving me food. And towards the end, she was keeping me motivated when I was struggling to keep the bike going.
Pushing through that athlete's wall, is it?
Exactly, the athlete's wall, and I certainly had that in the last hour. I was leaning against the car at one point, tempted to give up. She said to me, "You going to give up?" And at that point, I thought, no, she can't call my bluff. So I then just carried on going. Thankfully, the last 10 to 15 kilometres were a lot flatter, and that really eased me home.
Cool, thanks, Nick. Before I let you go, I just got a few little questions. What would you say the top three, in no particular order, the top three most magical or most life-affecting bits of that ride were that will always stay with you?
A couple come to mind straight away. So one was seeing a shooting star as we were cycling across Anglesey in the dark. Another one then, once we got past Anglesey, we got into the Snowdonia National Park and it was still dark. And on both sides, I could see the mountains. You could just make them out very faintly, and the car lights really helped behind. Then, going through the day, I'd probably say the bit after Aberystwyth, which was continually hill after hill, and was so quiet that we barely saw any traffic, and I honestly didn't know of that part of Wales, and it was only down to the bike ride that means I've now found out where it is and how nice it is.
Thank you very much, Nick. I'm surprised you didn't say the end, so that's good motivation. Thank you very much, Nick.
Thank you.